Computer. Welcome everybody to another episode of Authorsphere. I'm your host, Alatorre, with my great friend Jen and our special guest, Audrey. So Jenifer Ruff, I should say, and Audrey J Cole. And if I was really going to be specific, I'd say USA Today bestselling author Jenifer Ruff and USA Today bestselling author Audrey Cole. Welcome, ladies. As you can see, it's our Christmas special. So I was going to ask. Go ahead.
Well, thanks for having us, Dan. And I'm thrilled that Audrey's here because even though we've known each other for a few years, I don't think we've ever had a face-to-face conversation, if you could call this that. So that's neat.
Yes, this is super fun.
Totally counts. And I had an opportunity. Audrey was here and you came to Orlando or something not that long ago.
Yes, I was in Tampa Bay.
Oh, yes. You flew into Tampa, right?
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity we could get together. She invited me. I'm like, dude, you're here with your whole family trying to do a vacation. The last thing you want to do is sit down and waste time with me. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But it was tempting. It was tempting. So I appreciate the offer.
Maybe next time.
Definitely next time. Or if I get out to your neck of the woods, which I probably won't. I'm a lot more likely to come to where Jenifer lives because during that winter break from school that the kids get, my daughter wants to go somewhere with there's snow, and you guys are close enough to get there without a cross-country trip.
Yes. Yeah, you guys aren't that far from each other.
Well, far enough.
I think so.
It's 500 miles
so
or
much
something.
Closer.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 12 hours.
Yeah, that's because Audrey, you just like hop on a plane and you're like, you zip to Hawaii, you zip to Florida. Like you guys are really cool travelers. Like it just seems like no distance is too far. Let's do it. So
that's funny. Yes, I do love to travel. I would like to do it more, but yes.
I think it's awesome. And I like that you talk about it so often in your newsletters. It never occurred to me that you go to faraway places fairly frequently.
Yes, and it's fun when I can like wrap in some book research in a trip like that. But yes, I do love to travel, and writing is conducive to that. So it's good to have, an excuse for that. And Jenifer, you went on an amazing trip for one of your recent books, right? Was it to Ecuador?
oh no, Quebec.
Oh, Quebec.
Quebec, is that what you're thinking of?
You went on a
Quebec maybe, but my plan absolutely was to write a book that incorporated that trip. So I took a lot of videos that I could use to, market it. We were at the Frontenac, which is like a creepy hotel, the most famous hotel in the world. And it's the perfect setting for a thriller. It's like the Shining Hotel, but on steroids.
Oh.
So I took all these pictures and videos. I'm definitely going to incorporate it into my next book, but I don't know. I don't have an idea yet. Like I need to know what happens there.
So you didn't like have an idea and then we're like, I need to go to this place to make this really authentic in my book. You wanted to go to the place and then you're going to take an idea from that, right? That's really interesting. I feel like I do the opposite. I get an idea of a place and then the story comes out and then I'm like, okay, well, I have to go there now. But that's really, really interesting. I like that. It's like,
I figure if I'm there, I can expense part of my trip and get all the pictures. So I kind of, just pick where I want to go. And then it's gotta be in the book. It's gotta be at least a scene.
That's cool. I like that.
I'm kind of
I would like to know.
I set stories in places I never want to go, and then I don't go there. Except Tampa. A lot of my stories are in Tampa.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that your stories are in Tampa.
And you know what? I just thought, why do I want to set them in New York or Atlanta, LA, where it's been done to death? I'm like, I live here. What's wrong with just putting them here,
I think
certainly easier.
And murder are a good mix.
Yeah.
Sunshine and Murder. That sounds like a title of a book.
Well, it's certainly easier to write.
Title of our podcast. We should have a new podcast, Sunshine and Murder. Except it doesn't really work for where you live. You're in the rainy area.
Yeah, that's true. Rain and murder go well together too, I guess. It just depends on what you're in the mood for.
I love rain.
I like that mix though, that sunshine and murder mix, because it's kind of opposite to, I like both a cold weather thriller, but I also think it's kind of fun to bring in that other atmosphere to it. Gives it a different feel for sure.
Do you now see when I think of we're okay saying where you live, right, Audrey?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
at least limiting to the state. So
Yeah.
I've seen all of her bios.
Yeah, I
Well,
was
not
gonna ask.
address, but I mean,
Yeah.
Seattle.
Things change. I know, but then I'm like, well, heck, she may have changed it. I better ask, on the fly here. But so weather obviously is a factor in our stories. Do you intentionally make it a factor in your stuff?
I do sometimes. Yeah. I think like with the Final Hunt, it definitely, I was really wanting to give it that feel of a cold weather thriller. And I do feel like some stories just seem to mesh better with a certain season or a certain feel. So yeah, I think I have some that are set in the summer and some that are set in the winter. And it does seem like it affects the story a little bit,
Yeah, I agree. I set one of mine intentionally because they're here in Florida and I had the characters go to Atlanta, the outskirts of Atlanta, but I had it raining and cold on them the whole time. So it was constantly just a different vibe, say, from the prior book with just, Florida weather and,
Yeah.
and how miserable they were, how cold they were, that kind of stuff. Which for us,
Snowy
Floridians,
thrillers.
it is that way.
Love them. Like I read everyone I can get my hands on. I've written 2 of them, and I've written lots of books at resorts too, but that was just because that was kind of what I knew. It made it easier. I go to resorts with my family. I can, write about it. But snowy thrillers are absolutely my thing. Like the Final Hunt, like One by One, Whiteout. There's Whiteout by Danielle Girard and there's Whiteout by Ken Follett. They're both like, trapped in the snow with a blizzard. I love that whole vibe. It just makes you want to have a blanket and tea and
yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And it works too, because occasionally we get hurricanes. So a couple of years ago, my daughter was about 4. So it's about 8 years ago. Our power went out for a couple of days and it was like August. So it's roaster hot, but you don't have air conditioning. You have some ice and you're trying to not get into the refrigerator too much. If you leave it shut, the stuff in there will stay cold, not spoil. But if you're going in and out a lot. So we prepare for all that. So we got a cooler with ice, blah, blah, blah. But what else we did was we knew we'd kind of stuck. So we had some battery operated fans. We had these little battery charger guys that you can run a fan off of or a TV. And so, but we're roaster hot. It's so humid. It's so hot and you're miserable and it's raining. So you can't really go outside, but it's still 85 degrees inside, 100% humidity inside, mosquitoes flying around inside. You wash your hands, you put them on a towel and they don't get dry. Anyway, so I put on it was like a Sylvester Stallone movie where he's up in the mountains and it's really cold the whole time. It's like a rescue adventure kind of thing. And after about 10 minutes, we weren't really hot because we're watching these people on screen who are really, really cold. And it just kind of mentally makes you forget about how hot you are. It was very effective. So, you break out your wintertime book in the middle of summer and maybe you go out without the air conditioning for a little bit.
Yeah. So Audrey, one thing you do that I think is so awesome, at least with your last few books, you kind of had a whole synopsis written that you gave to your agent. Like you knew, certainly not the details, but you knew what was going to happen, like beginning, middle, end, what the twist was. Just so fabulous. So how long have you been doing that? Is that a new thing or have you always done that?
It's a fairly new thing. Yes. And I think that it just develops with the more that you write, the more you kind of start to figure out what really works for you. I feel like my first book, I didn't really know what I was doing as far as how to write a novel. And so I think that every time you go, you start to develop what works for you. You hear advice from people on podcasts like this or how they do it. But I think that the more and more that you write, you start to develop, okay, this is what works for me, and figuring out how you're going to be the most successful at getting it done in a good time frame. And so that does seem to help me to make sure that I'm not going to get to the end and then go, oh, this isn't working. So before I think that I had that synopsis in my head, like with previous novels, right? How it's going to start, how it's going to end, and sort of what's going to be happening, the main points. But I do find that, having that, a few pages of essentially like an outline written out from beginning to end is pretty helpful of getting going. And I do leave room for change. Like, so I think that, because I think some things don't really unfold in your mind until you really get there in the scene. And then you think, oh, wait, this would be better, right? If this happened. But it does give you a good map just to, to be able to make good progress and know where you're headed. Because I feel like before I did that, sometimes I had it mapped out, but then I would sometimes write 20,000 words and then sort of have to stop and regroup, and then write 20,000 words and stop and regroup. And that works. But I think that this helps that the pauses to be, shorter, I think, as you're writing.
You can focus better. And you've been going to some little like hotel retreats by yourself to get writing in.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have 2 kids, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, almost 7-year-old. And yeah, I just have some times when I just feel like I have to get out of here. I have to get out of the house and go to a hotel where there's nothing to do but write. And I'm so productive when I'm there. I mean, I have an office at home where I can close the door and be at work, but there is something about just being in a space like that where there's truly nothing to do. There's no dishes, there's no laundry, there's nobody saying mom. There's, you are there to write. And it really helps me just get into a headspace of just being able to really knock out thousands of words in a weekend, where I struggle to do that at home. Yeah, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of nice to have an excuse to go to a quiet hotel room for a weekend and really get things knocked out, so that then I can, come home and be a little more present.
I think that's awesome.
You'll write the whole
Yes.
entire day. You'll just stay in your room and write the whole day.
Yes, pretty much. I will go down on the elliptical for a half an hour to an hour. And otherwise I pretty much work, morning till night, like from 8 to 10, probably. I mean, on and off, but yeah. And it's probably, thinking and writing and thinking and writing and thinking and writing. Yes. And so that's been really, really great.
But it's cool because when you go there, you have the mindset of, I'm here to write. At the house, you can have that mindset, but there's other people in the house who need you for something. And if you're there, they need you for that. If you're not there, they'll figure out a way to get it done without you, right? Or improvise or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, and it's for me too, like when I'm at home, there's always that little, you tune it out, but there's still that little voice that says, oh, I need, you need to do that. You need to respond to that. Oh, I should do this. And so, yeah, when you go to a place like that, even I think, it makes me feel like maybe I need to have a shed in the yard that I can go to, and just, just having that sort of space.
Would that work though?
Out of the house.
Get a 5-year-old, that shed would work. They'd be on the door, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah,
Mommy,
that's true.
where are the cookies?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. So it is nice. Where I've been going is about 25 minutes away from here. It's called Prosser. It's in the middle of wine country.
Oh.
And it's just far enough away that I feel like I'm out of town, but I'm not, I can get there and just really quick. And yeah.
Is it a nice place, upscale place, bottom cheap place?
It is nice. It's small, and it's kind of an old town. They've got a really cute little old downtown. And yeah, mostly now it's like a wine tasting and truck stop on the highway. So yeah, but I just pretty much go and I sit in my room. I go to Starbucks in the morning and I come back and that's about it. But yeah.
So how often do you do that over the course of writing a book?
Probably, I would say 3 times, maybe.
Wow. A weekend each time?
Yes. I think that with this latest book, I have already gone 3 times. So I don't know if I can.
Let me get a little spoiled here, I think.
Yeah.
Success is spoiling Audrey.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm at about 50,000 words, so I'm probably just going to have to make do.
Wow. That is fast. That's fast progress. Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank you. It feels slow, and I'm trying to send it back to my editor before Christmas for a developmental edit. So we'll see. But I'm like looking at the calendar thinking, how am I going to knock out 13,000 words? I forget how busy holidays is. So I'm thinking I have a book that releases after Christmas, and I'm trying to get this book done. And I've been thinking all month, I don't like this time frame. I think, I think it's better to release in the summer, just as far as life goes.
I fool myself into believing this every year, that school's quieter and everything's quieter around Christmas, Thanksgiving. Yes, people are planning on like the holidays or whatever, but the distraction level goes through the roof
Yes.
because there's so many
Yes.
other things that you have to do.
Right.
I don't know how I managed to forget that every single year.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What are your guys' writing schedules? I would like to know what your like writing day looks like.
Well, the two of us are polar opposites, completely opposites. I'll go first. So I sit at my desk every single day. I go into an office with my tea, I sit down and every single day. But out of that like whole day, maybe 4, 5, 6 hours, I think maybe only an hour of it is actual writing. And so much of that writing is just revising.
Okay.
I'm just really slow and I'm constantly doing other things that are work things, I'm checking my ads to see if someone left a weird comment. I'm, thinking of new ads. I'm making now Instagrams and TikToks. And, there's just so many other things going on that are work, but they're not writing. So every single day, I probably write an hour to 2 hours. My writing is very slow. Once I get like a draft out there, then I start spending a lot more time like revising because I enjoy that. That's easier. That's more fun to add the details. But it's a very slow process. And it's almost every day, even the weekends, even if we're traveling over the weekend, I'll be, doing something. So I feel like I work full time, but I write very little of that.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's all work related. Checking your ads is important. It's not writing, but it is important to the business. What time do you go into your office then every day?
I work out, I walk the dogs, and I sit down.
She looks guilty already, doesn't she? Like,
Yeah.
I don't go in first thing.
Probably between like 8:30 and 9 I start. The earlier I can start, the more productive I am. I'm just better. I can create better in the morning. But I'm always at my desk by like 9:30. But then, I'm running into the kitchen for this, the laundry, the dogs have an issue. When you're at home, there's always something, even if there's no children, there's always something to kind of pull you away from your laptop.
See, I use those distractions, like you said, laundry, right? I use those distractions to kind of keep me focused, but to give me the mental break, like Audrey was mentioning. So typically on Monday is when I do the laundry because I'm gonna be writing all day. I'm gonna be here. It's like, how hard is it to take 5 minutes, dump stuff into the washer, and then go write for an hour? The thing goes off, go take it, dump it into the dryer, go back and write. But then it's got to get, when it's done with the dryer, it's got to come out and get folded and do whatever, right? Now, I'm very happy that my daughter doesn't care about folded clothes. And my wife apparently doesn't care if my daughter's clothes are folded. So her laundry is easy. Like I just said, dump it into this one, dump it into that one, put it all back in a basket and stick in her room. But my wife and I stuff, I tend to fold it, right? But why I do it is because it's forcing me to take a mental break. And it doesn't matter what I do during that, however long it takes, half hour, let's say, to be up there folding clothes. I'm still thinking about the story. I'm thinking about what's coming. I'm thinking about, and inevitably, same when I work out, I'll be out there and all this, I used to be on a treadmill, now I'm on the street. And I'll get some idea like, you know what? At this point in the story, we really wanted to move fast. I'm cluttering it up with too much detail. So I'll pull my phone, I'll do myself a talk to text and say, just create a list that somebody else looks at and says, oh yeah, she took care of this. Wow, she's awesome. And then we all know it's handled and we can get on to the pace of the story that we want. Because I keep thinking of things, I should go back and address this here and go back and address that there. So it's during those breaks that I feel like I catch little plot holes that I would have had if I hadn't taken the little break. So I'm like, laundry's great because it forces me to take that break. Otherwise, I'd sit in here and I'd plow through a bunch of words and maybe not catch some glaring error. Knock on wood, so far, I don't have a lot of plot holes in my stories that I'm aware of.
But the difference between Dan and I is, for example, I have a book that comes out in April. I have to give it to the audiobook narrator February 15th.
Well,
so
I think we're getting a little internet static here. We can't hear you. Hold on.
It's got to be done by February 15th. And I'm pretty much done. I just have the last chapter. But I'm a nervous wreck. I'm a nervous wreck. I have one chapter to write.
On a book that comes out in 4 months.
Yeah, and I just feel like, oh no, I didn't give myself enough time. I did not give myself enough time. And Dan has 2 books coming out in a week or so.
Yeah,
And-
I postponed one, and I am actually, because you can't postpone more than 30 days, I actually canceled the other one. I'll have to do it over the summer. But there's a reason for that. I had a giant problem where I lost my hearing in my left ear completely almost. It was like an infection, like a viral infection that swelled up my ear and it knocked my hearing out. When your hearing is off, your inner ear is messed up, your balance is messed up, your coordination, you get nauseous, right, from motion sickness. And I was always prone to motion sickness anyway. So long story short, that happened like April and May of 2022. And we were getting ready to go on vacation and stuff. So I was like, no big deal. And I had the specialist look at it and everything. Well, now you probably can't tell, but I've got a hearing aid over here. What it does is this ear is like 80%, this is my left ear. It's about 80% deaf. And they said, we can't just give you a hearing aid because we'll just make things louder. But the little cilia or whatever they are inside your ear were so damaged that I couldn't understand words in this ear. Okay. So making it louder would just make words I can't understand louder. So this hearing aid sends the information, the sounds over to this one, and I hear everything through this ear, which is tricky because if I walk into a room and I don't see you and you're on that side, you say, hey, Dan, I'll be looking over here because that's where the sound comes from.
Oh, weird.
Barking dogs are really bad when I'm not jogging because I've learned to do the 360. It's like, where are they coming from? Anyhow, so it took, so I write really with like 2 fingers and I look up and down at the screen all the time. So that little bit of head motion was it never made me feel like I was going to throw up, which is what the vertigo and nausea stuff do. But it always made me feel like if I am not super careful, I'm going to want to throw up and I'll feel sick the rest of the day. So I just kind of shut down and I inched, and I mean inched back into everything. Exercise. I didn't probably exercise for months. And Jen, you're a big workout enthusiast. When you're not doing your routine, when you're not being physical, when you're used to it, that puts you off kilter, having friggin' hearing loss, puts you off kilter. So it's just a lot of things factored into it. But in April, if you would ask me, will I be able to write 2 books by December? Like, no problem. I'd probably write 2 books this month. Well, here I am, right? It took a long, slow recovery. And it really wasn't a long, slow recovery, but I think mentally it was. I think I was doing better than I probably was. I think it would affect me mentally a little more. And, there's just things you want to hear that you don't hear, like your kid laughing. And you're thinking, I might not be able to hear that again. That kind of sucks. Anyhow, so that put me off track. So unfortunately, Jen is correct. I'm not going to get my 2 books done by December 31st. So I put one out to January 31st. The other one I canceled, and I'll just make sure it gets written by probably next summer or something. But it was kind of a blessing in disguise because one was from my double blind series and the other one was from my Jet Factor series. The Jet Factor series doesn't sell nowhere near as well as the double blind series. It's not as popular. It doesn't get as many reviews. It doesn't sell as well. It's harder to market. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Maybe this is telling me eventually write that book, but maybe don't spend too much time on that series anymore because it doesn't make you any money. And this is where you should be spending your time. So I had spent a lot of time on the book that I was going to end up canceling and then dived into the 4th book in the double blind series. That's my little thing. But so to get back to what we were talking about, my habit used to be I'd get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and come down and write for a couple hours before anybody woke up.
I remember you telling me that once. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know why I got out of that. I do know why. I started watching TikTok and stuff, and it was just more fun to sit on the couch and watch TikTok for an hour than it was to come in and write. I don't know, more distracting, I guess. So I kind of got some bad habits there. But I don't have an excuse to not write all day because I have the time to do it. So it didn't have to start at 4 in the morning. And then I used to work out in the evenings. So now I work out in the morning. So I just rearranged my schedule a little bit. But I probably come in, I probably spend 5 hours, 6 hours. I don't do a lot of writing in the evening anymore, but I used to. Like after my daughter would go to bed, I went to bed at 8. So I'd write for a couple more hours then. But I also didn't like the revision process. Like my first and second book, as soon as I was done typing the first draft, I was like, this is it. It doesn't need anything. It's good. It's perfect. It's great. And now I really enjoy the revision process. And I don't know what changed, but you go and you look and I try to approach it with fresh eyes and say, okay, today I'm going to read yesterday's chapter that I wrote or however much I wrote yesterday. And I'll see things that I knew what I meant when I wrote that paragraph or that section, but I know a reader wouldn't get the full gist of it. So I got to add in some emotion and add in a little bit of pacing, or make some of the words more actiony, instead of shut the door, maybe slam the door, that kind of stuff. And so it's fun because it's still work, it's still productive, it's making the product better, but it's way easier than creating new product. It's like, I can consider this work. I worked for 2 hours a day. What did I change? Nothing, but I made sure everything was the way I wanted it. So, and then so that takes maybe an hour, and then I crank out the rest of the time in the office here, writing the new stuff. And so what about you? What time, Audrey, what do you hit the keypad?
I wish I could say I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and I knock out a couple thousand words before 7 a.m. I'm always jealous when people say that, because I am not a morning person, although, maybe I should just make myself a morning person. But I tend to get up like between 6:30, 6:45, get my kids to school during the weekdays. And I'm home around 8, and I feel like, though, it takes me a little bit mentally to get into writing. So it's normally 8:30 or 9. Like if I sit down at 8, I normally do, I think, Jenifer, what you do, like I check my emails, I check my ads. Sometimes I think I should leave that until later in the day, but there is something, I feel like my mind is just, I'm getting ready to get into my manuscript, almost giving myself that mental pep talk and kind of thinking about it in the back of my mind, like what I'm going to be working on today. And there's just something, I think that it's a little bit mindless. I think just clearing out my inbox, checking on my ads, making sure everything's good. And then I feel like once I've done that, hopefully fairly quickly, like a half an hour or so, I try to open my manuscript and get into my novel. I try to stay off like Instagram and Facebook, unless I'm just replying to something really quick, but I try and kind of put that off until later. And then I try and write until I have to pick my son up at like 11. Today his nanny is picking him up at school, so I have a little bit longer time, but I do better when I have a longer chunk of time. So my son goes to school like 3 hours, like from 8 to 11. And so if his dad picks him up or my nanny picks him up, or I have like a little bit longer stretch, if I can sit here from 8 to like 2:30, I do better. Because sometimes, I don't know if you guys feel this, but you get into your book, you get into this fictional place and you're working on it. And it's when I get out of that and then I have to come back. Although, like Dan said, a mental break can be good, but sometimes if you have that break, if it's like a forced break, it takes me another, I feel like half an hour or so to kind of get my mind back into where I was and back into that. So yeah, I try and write Monday through Friday. But I think it's like Jenifer said, a lot of times it's marketing things or replying to emails that I have to respond to, checking my ads, making sure that, your book launch is on schedule, your emails and things like that. And so I wish it was more like 80% writing, 20% marketing some days, but I feel like some days it's the opposite, like depending on if you have a release coming out or that. And so I think that my day is probably, hopefully 3 hours spent working on my manuscript and like 3 hours.
It's funny when you break it down, if there was somebody who wasn't a writer who wanted to be an author, right? And they said, how many hours a day do I need? Or how many hours do you actually write? And you said 3 hours a day, this many days a week will get me 70,000 words over the course of this many days or whatever. And they'd be like, wow, I should be able to do that. But the fact is there are so many other things that go into it.
But so many people write books while they have full-time jobs, which just blows me away. I just think that's incredible to be so disciplined. You have to use every hour just to do the writing.
Yeah. And I think if you were traditionally published, although that maybe that would be easier, but I don't know, because I think that as indie authors, we do so much of the, you're the publisher, you're the marketer, you're the HR, you're everything, right? And so, because I look back to thinking my first couple books, I used to write when my kids were napping, so 1 to 3 hours a day, but that was all I did because I didn't have a mailing list. I didn't really have a social media account. I didn't have, so I feel like it was almost a simpler time because that was all I did. I didn't have readers. So I just wrote the first couple books. And so it's like, once you get to that place where you are managing a backlist and, fortunate enough to have readers and ads and things like that going, I feel like it adds a bit to the table that,
That's a lot to the table.
Yeah. So I wish that it was more like 50. My goal would probably be to do like 50-50, like, half of the day writing and half of the day marketing. But it doesn't always work like that.
The breaks are an irritation. That's like, I am doing this thing that I have to go do, pick up the kid or whatever it is, but I want to be doing that. So it means when I get back to it, I'm very happy to be back to it.
Yes.
Whereas if I had 8 hours uninterrupted, which I've had, my daughter's in Scouts. My wife will go on an overnight camping trip with them. I got the whole weekend from Friday afternoon till Sunday afternoon. I'm getting done. Watch a lot of TV, drink a lot, eat pizza, maybe type out a few hundred words. But it's when I have the shorter window. I think I'm probably better. I'll say I'm better at a deadline. But the fact is, I probably just think I am. It just forces me to be a little more disciplined.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sometimes having that shorter time you are, because you can't do anything else. You think, okay, if I'm going to get those words in, I have to do it right now.
The other thing about checking email and all that, first of all, you're right. If you're trying to get your word count done, get your word count done first and then deal with emails and social media. But the fact is, you have to work the way that you work best. And if those unanswered emails are such a mental distraction that's going to cause you not to be able to focus, then you got to deal with them first so you can clear up your head to focus on your story, right?
Yes.
Nobody wants to read a story about, and then she needed to check her email. It's like, nobody's wanting to read that story.
I have a confession. So this is Audrey's book that's coming out in 2 days after Christmas, and the audio is already out. Isn't that right?
It's on pre-order.
Pre-order, because I saw
everything's on pre-order. Oh, the audiobook is on NetGalley.
Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Because I saw some reviews of the audiobook and I thought, maybe it came out early. So I was supposed to do a giveaway with this, but now that I know about like Instagram and TikTok and everybody has copies of their books and they keep, using them in different things like books with gray covers, books with the word one in them. Now I want to keep it. Can I keep it? I really do. I'm like so excited to have like a book I really love that's like recent. And so if you don't mind,
then keep it.
Yeah, I'm keeping it.
Hey, I got a question hold that cover up again.
That's so funny.
Is that you?
Isn't that like her hair? Don't you love it?
Yeah, I know it is not me, but
that totally
Kelsey,
could be.
you have that hat though. I was thinking I need to do a post maybe where I put that hat on
but
it.
I was on vacation recently and I have a hat like that and that hair is my color.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That is like your hair. So yeah, you need the hat and you can do some videos where you're her standing backwards or maybe like all of a sudden you come alive on the book cover. Like that.
Yes, I was thinking I might need to try that for TikTok and see how that goes.
You totally could do that.
Yeah.
You totally could.
Yeah.
I want to talk about TikTok and Instagram because I know we're all kind of new there and it's kind of like consuming me. On the one hand, I'm enjoying it so much. And on the other hand, like, I can't believe how much time I'm spending, like thinking of these things and creating these things. Like it's crazy. So I don't know if it's a good thing yet. I'm not sure.
I would say this. Audrey, you're probably the newest of the three of us to TikTok, right? When did you start out on there?
Well, Jenifer was telling me about it probably a month ago, right?
That seems pretty recently.
And I was like, okay, I need to get on there, but I was kind of overwhelmed, right, with the whole thing. And I started watching the TikTok sort of class on Mark Dawson's course. And I felt like I was spending so much time watching that finally about halfway through, I thought, okay, forget it. I'm just going to get on there and I'm just going to observe, like start observing what other people are doing and then go from there. And then I finally jumped on there. But yes, I try to do, it's hard though to keep up with posting every day or posting multiple times a day. So I try to have a time limit on how much I'm going to spend every day, you
That's
know,
smart.
making a post. But yesterday I didn't post, and at the end of the day I thought, oh, whoops.
No, I think your posts are awesome. Probably when you first started posting was when they came on my radar. I think I found that out you pretty quickly after you got on there. And I go through, because there weren't that many videos at the time of yours. And now whenever I see them, I'm like, this is, I think I've even told you, I said, this is exactly the kind of videos I should be doing. And Jenifer, yours are right up there too. Now I'll give the tip of the hat to Audrey here, but I think the way the two of you approached it is so much smarter and better than what I did. I got on, I was goofing around, and there was a video where you could turn yourself into a dragon, so I did that. And I'm like, you know, yours are so much more focused, so much appropriate. You look at them and you know exactly what's going on there. And mine were just totally not that. So I'm like, this month, I'm like, all right, I got a book to finish. I'm going to scale back on that stuff anyway, because it can be a huge amount of time. And I'm not posting too much right now. And when I come back, probably January, I'm gonna try to take the tack that you guys have taken on it, because I think your stuff is much better in reaching the type of people you're trying to reach.
Well, I think if you reach the right people, you can be very successful. And I know this because since I've been on TikTok and Instagram, I pretty much got busy on Instagram at the same time. I have bought so many things that I didn't know existed before. I mean,
Kind
so
of the
many
opposite
books.
of what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell books, not buy other things.
I have bought so many books. In fact, I feel like and I've always read a lot, but I always got my books from the library, because why would I want hundreds of books sitting around? But now that you see all these pretty posts and people going back to like books I read in November and books with pink covers, now I want to keep them all. So I'm buying not only books, but I'm buying hardcovers for like the first time in my life that are just for me to put on my shelves. I want every book that I see, like, you know, if it's on someone's list as like best book of the year, and especially the thriller. So I want all the books. And then on Instagram, I can't tell you how many pieces of furniture, like big pieces of furniture, artwork, just so many random things that, you know, you see it in someone's house, it's pretty. And sometimes I didn't even have to see it twice, and I just bought it. So it works. Like, it really works.
You'll have to start doing posts of like, you know, your bookshelf, your growing, you know, bookshelf and things like that you're doing from, getting all these books from TikTok.
But it's fun.
So are you seeing any success from your TikTok stuff? Yeah, I mean, success would be different depending on, you know, just being in there, just starting out.
I'm not sure, because as I started probably around the time when I had a new book launch, and I had just done some book bubs. So things were going really well for me. And at the same time I started TikTok, I started cutting down my Facebook ad spend. So I can't really tell what's from what. I don't feel like I feel like no one knows me on TikTok. Like when I got there, like when on Facebook, I just have so many comments on my ads. Like, people know me, people, you know, comment that they read this book or they read the series. And on TikTok, it was like just starting from scratch. Like, I just feel like
here's the thing. Let's suppose you put out a video a day for 7 days, and one gets 50 views and one gets 250 views, and the rest of them are all in between there. When you add up how many viewed your stuff over the course of a week, it's over 1,000 people who probably weren't going to see you on Facebook or any other advertising media you're doing. And then if it takes several times for them to see you before they decide to start engaging or check out whatever is your product you're hawking, you're looking at maybe, what do they say, 7 exposures or whatever, depending. And I don't know that TikTok is necessarily a book selling medium. It certainly is for some people. So it's a longer game, I think. Facebook, I think, is maybe a little faster.
But what I really want, and what we all want, is other people to be talking about our books, you know, like other people to buy them, but then talk about them. Like, that's the goal. That's my goal, at least. So
well, you know, I had some of that. I think I told you about that, didn't I? So if I would watch these people who would come on and they talk about the books, like book reviewer people, and if they were talking about thrillers, or they mentioned thrillers or sometimes horror stories, I would message them, or I would comment on their stuff a few times, And if I did that, then they kind of felt like, okay, he's kind of normal. So if I send them what do you call it on TikTok? It's not a friend request. What is it? You just follow each other, right? So
Follow?
I followed them, they'd follow me eventually, especially if I was commenting on their stuff. And then I'd send them a message. I'm like, you know, I love your reviews. You're doing a great job. You're getting thousands of views on your stuff. I'd love it if you check out one of my books. If you ever have an interest, here's my author page link. Check out anything you want. I'll be happy to send it to you. For 10 of those, I might do, 1 or 2 might say they were interested. And I'm trying to be friendly. I'm not trying to hawk a book. And then I tell them, how do you like to, what did I say? How do you prefer to consume your stories? Audiobook, ebook, hardcover, paperback, not hardcover, paperback. What inevitably they would say is, if I send them a paperback, they could hold it up in the video, and they prefer doing that. So now that's like $5 out of my pocket to send them the books. I'm like, give me your address. And by the way, I would say, send me an address to send the book to. And what name would you like me to send it to? In other words, I'm not saying, Jenifer, give me your home address. I'm saying, Jenifer, maybe what address do you want me to send it to? Maybe you want me to send it to your office so I don't know where you live at home, right? And maybe this is just different, me being a guy, because all the book reviewers on TikTok are women, except one. So, and then out of those, maybe 1/3 of those would follow through. And I'm like, hey, my gift to you, if you enjoy it, maybe you'll do a video of it. And then almost always they would say, of course I'll do a video of it. So there's like the sales funnel. It's like I had to contact this many, get this many to reply, get this many send a book to. I didn't send out that many books, maybe between 5 and 10 books I sent out. And out of those, I probably got 80% ended up doing a video. So
That's good. I feel like NetGalley
that's the
is
process I
helpful
use.
in that respect, because I think a lot of the NetGalley reviewers are young, and so it's more natural for them to then go on Instagram, and it's always so exciting to find those, to like search for your book and someone's put this cute picture together, and that makes me so happy. And a lot of libraries, I saw my book show up in a lot of like libraries or small libraries where the librarian like took pictures of their new releases, and that's just so exciting.
Cool.
Like I went back in time and I realized that when I wasn't on Instagram, people were doing that for me, and I didn't even know to look. But that to me right now, that is like the most exciting thing, to see somebody holding up your book in like a pretty setting or any setting, and just, don't you love that?
Yeah.
It's nice when it happens and you didn't have a pre-existing relationship with them, and then they tag you, and then they're shocked that you saw it and you reply, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you wrote back to me or whatever. It's like, hell yeah, I don't have that many people doing this,
Audrey, you put together some really nice PR boxes for Only One Lie, like where you had your bookmark and a bag, and so I'd be so happy to get one. Who were the people that got those? How did you pick who got those cute little boxes?
I have a list of bookstagrammers that I've been in contact with for my last few releases, and then that list just kind of grows a little bit with each one. I think that the first time I did it, after the bookstagrammers posted, I had some more contact me and say, hey, could you, I saw this, could you send me a copy? I'd like to do that. So that's kind of cool. That seems to be growing with every release. Just kind of keeping in contact with that, and then that's just, it's fun, and you get that exposure, from their platforms, and just in that book community. So I just have that list that I go back to, and I try and to like engage with them, not only like when I'm having a book come out, but just continue to foster that relationship as, engaging with their posts and things as the year goes on, and so that there is that relationship there. And then so all of those bookstagrammers, like the list, and all of them that said that they would like a copy, I sent out the swag, I guess. Yeah,
that's awesome. So what all's in the swag package?
It's a bag that says Only One Lie by Audrey J Cole, like a kind of like a canvas bag, and then a coaster and the book and a bookmark and like a matching just card. Yeah.
So did you get the whole bag or not the whole bag?
No, I just got.
I don't think I said. No, sorry.
I don't think that all the swag was ready yet when I got this book.
No, but so out of curiosity, if you had to put your cost to put together one of those bags and send it, how much money are you talking about out of pocket?
Not, not too much because I send it media mail and I buy them in bulk. So I think I bought 25 or 50 bags. And then the coasters, my husband actually made them. And so it's pretty, I don't think it was, I'm trying to think how much
It's
it
probably
would
under
be,
20
but
bucks, you think?
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Including
Yes,
postage in it,
because
right?
yes, I think the bags were probably only a couple dollars each. I bought them on Amazon, like in a big, so if you buy it in bulk and you're organized, and I figured I might do another like giveaway or something, and I use them for pictures. And so, and I use FedEx to print out all of the bookmarks and the matching cards. So that's like cents.
Yeah.
And then Brett made the, coasters. So I would say, I mean, it's probably under $15, including shipping for each one. So.
But now if you turn that around and say you're that Instagrammer,
Mhm.
would you pay 15 bucks to get that Instagrammer to talk about your book? Be like, heck yeah.
Right.
So the balance of the scales is definitely in your favor for that.
Right.
And
Yeah,
just
I
the
think
build
so.
those
pictures, she had some very Instagram worthy pictures of, it all laid out, like getting ready to package, that just, very appealing pictures that make you excited to, want to be part of it. So it's a good idea.
Yeah, and it's kind of a fun, it's a fun thing to do also.
I have a question for you guys. So this year, I've never bought copies of my books. I'm always changing the back matter. I'm constantly updating my bio. And so I've never bought copies of my books to have around. And this year I had several people ask me for signed copies. They wanted signed hardcover copies. So I actually had to order the hard copy, sign it, mail it out. And I thought, is that something that you guys already do? Like, is that on your website? Like if you want signed copies? Because
It's
it
not on my
seems like,
website, but it's a smart thing to have it on your website. It's on my to-do list. I used to buy copies of my books because I used to go to the, what do you call them, book fairs and stuff, where you got to have a stack of books on your table to sell to people who come up. And the thing about those was, so I'd buy a couple $100 worth of books, and then I'd go and I'd spend a day in Orlando at a thing at a table. And it was one of two ways. It was either lots of people coming, so you sold lots of books, or very few people coming, so you network with the other authors. But when it was over with, the cost of driving to Orlando, maybe I paid for a hotel, usually not. Time and expense, it cost money to get the books. I didn't usually make a whole heck of a lot of money when I was done, but I'm kind of sales oriented when I'm in that kind of environment. So it was like, would I break even? And when I would talk to the other authors, I'm like, oh, it's still good to network and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I would have made more money if I'd have spent $35 on an ad today and I'd had my whole day. So I drastically scaled back. And what I do now is I'll get maybe 5 or 10 books because there are people who are going to ask for signed copies. Or if I'm sending it to somebody like Audrey, when you send those packages, do you sign those books first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes it more special to them. Everybody that I sent a book to who was on TikTok, I signed it for them. I'm still
do you
not
have
thinking
that
anybody cares
process
that I'm autographing
automated,
stuff, but
Audrey? Is that something that anyone can go on your website and order a signed copy from you?
No, and I was thinking that I'm going to do that, I think next year. I don't know if it's something that I would do year round, but I have, like you, had some people ask me for signed copies and where could I get these, especially during holidays, I think.
Mhm.
And so I was thinking, I don't have anything on my website, but I was thinking maybe next, like for the holiday season, it's just something I think you have to be a little more organized about, because I realized it now when people started asking me, and I thought, oh, that would have been good to have that on my website, but I
Right.
just didn't get there this month. So I think it might be something that I do, just around holiday times, because you do have to think too about your time is valuable. So I think I don't know if it's something year round that would be worth, the time of, mailing that, because you think about, you have to sign it, you've got to mail it, you've got to do all of that. But I think that definitely during holidays, it's something that, as indie authors, we could take advantage of putting that on our
I'd like
website.
to do that too. I don't want to figure it out. I want someone else to figure out, here's the absolute best way to do it. And then I'll do that.
Well, I can
Some
tell you
people have
this.
an Etsy shop, or sometimes it's on their website and you can purchase it right through their website.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll see what you do, Audrey. Keep me
If it's
posted.
for signed copies, what you want to do is because if you have one book at a time sent to you, that's expensive because of the shipping cost to you, right? So if you have 5 or 10, the per book cost of the shipping comes way down. And then we all know what media mail is. When you sign it and you go to mail it,
Yes,
you got to
that's
have some
helpful.
padded envelopes. You got to have, that's about it, really. And then postage, return address order, and you send it media mail. So but you're, we're probably not talking on school here to say your cost to have the book sent to you is much less than the retail price.
Right.
Mhm.
So I just tell
And
everybody,
I
I just tell
wasn't
them,
thinking of like 5 to 10. I'm thinking, I'm imagining like thousands.
you can do that too if you had that kind of demand. I myself do not. But I have, right here, you can see that's what those are. They go on my bookshelf, and then when somebody wants one, I sign it, drop in the envelope, and send it out. I don't advertise them to buy from me a signed copy, but I tell them the price is the same as you pay on the retail site, plus $3.50. I think it's $3.50 or $4.50 for the envelope and the media mail postage. So it's,
So
and people are happy with that.
we're almost out of time. Audrey,
Mhm.
what else do you want to share with us? What do we need to know?
What do you need to know? I don't know, you guys. This has just been so fun connecting with you and, talking to you guys both, sort of in person, because we email and we share thoughts that way, but it's really fun to be able to bounce ideas off and just chat live. So I think sometime we'll have to meet in person at a conference or something.
Good luck getting this one out of her house for that. It'll never happen. You know what? Now, what we
Come up with some excuse at the last minute. My dog will be sick.
I just solved an issue. We would have to go to her house. She'd probably have us at her house.
Yeah, I'm just like that. I will have such a good time with you guys, but yeah, I would dread every minute of like, oh, I have to go out.
I do want to meet
How many
your
times have I
dogs.
invited you
So maybe we
to
should
come to
come
a
to your
conference
house.
or something? She won't leave the house. She's like a clam in there.
I'm going to my tea. I'm going to my Christmas tea. There's that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm so grateful for that we can do this all online. I am so grateful. Like I did a few book signings early, and
That's her
that's
time.
just
She
not
said she
for
was
me.
going to cut me off after an hour. We got 2 minutes left. I must get to my tea.
Yep, my Christmas tea.
No, we don't want you to be late. Well, listen, I would love to do this again anytime. Audrey, there's a million things we didn't even get to that we wanted to ask you. So I appreciate you carving out an hour of your busy schedule to talk to us, and would love to do it again whenever you have a chance. Jenifer, same with you, obviously. And listen, ladies, 10 days till Christmas. So have a great time during this holiday season. Good luck. And real quick, Audrey, tell us where readers can find you and what the next book coming out is and all that kind of good stuff.
They can find me on my website at audreyjcole.com or on Facebook / Audrey J Cole, or Instagram at Audrey J Cole. Same with TikTok. And my next book, Only One Lie, thank you, Jenifer, for showing that, is coming out on December 27th. And it's available for pre-order on Amazon right now.
All righty. We are going to end it there. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.